What's up, everybody? It's your favorite trumpet player's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at Generation Toys Jazz, which I think is J4zz, which is clever, Generation Toys, but I'm on to you. Anyway, this is fairly well done. We're going to talk about a couple issues that I have with it, and so on and so forth. But before we get too heavy into it, let's do a quick size comparison so we can get that out of the way with old Buckethead himself. Speaking of which, Buckethead in the literal sense, because I throw him into a bucket, not because his head is shaped like a bucket, like, say, a Maketron. So that's the play on words there. Don't you worry about it. We're going to work it through. This is Tiger Tracks, and I think I have a new idea. I'm going to throw him in the bucket for a year without ever cleaning him up, and we'll see how he is at the end of that year. So say October, say Halloween next year. We'll see how it is. Somebody remind me. So there he is. I think it works fairly well. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this out of the top of the vehicle. We'll talk about that in a second. We're going to take the MP10 trailer and see if it fits in, and it does. No problem, no worries, no pressure, no stress, no issues. So we'll set that aside. We'll talk about this gun, which is fairly well done. Nicely sculpted, zero paint, but that's okay. It articulates here, which seems silly, but it works out later on. I'll show you how. And let's just show it now. You plug it in there, and then you can articulate it. So that's all well and good. A couple things we need to talk about with this. It has a pearlescent finish, which, trust me, I appreciate. However, it does make it seem off-white. And to me, like, I want Jazz to be like a prow white. So it is off-putting to me. I'm not crazy about that choice, but it is executed extremely well. So if you like that color finish, you should like the way it is applied if mine is representative of others. Paint-wise, you got additional paint, all this red light paint, black paint, nothing for the license plate, but that's okay. You got these. They're a bit more pliable, like softer, not crazy soft, not as soft as these, which are soft. Smart move, Generation Toy. And then you have the blue and red paint with the black outlines in between and the 4 on the hood, and that is all sharp as a tack. For the front, we have black paint, and that's all done extremely well as well. The tires are rubber, but it's like a dense rubber, and then the wheels are painted silver as well. So that looks really good. The doors open, like just straight up open, which I dig. Now, obviously, there's no seat inside and such, but it's still a cool feature. And guess what? 1, 2 magnets. There was somebody that commented on my channel, I think like 8 months to a year ago, that said third parties should start using magnets on their transformers, and I have been preaching that. I thought it was a great idea, and I've been preaching that ever since, and now we're starting to get a magnet or two show up. So you know what? Me and that guy, we're taking partial credit. Thank you, sir. I can't recall your name at the time. Other than that, it rolls well. There is some resistance somewhere, but it might help to have like all these, make sure they're perfectly lined up. Yeah, that rolls much better. So no problems there. So there's a number of things you have to do just kind of prep work wise. One of which is untabbing this. There's just little things that if I don't do, I know I will forget. You can bring this little, there's a lot of little tiny flaps and panels and such. It's actually done really clever, or fairly clever. So we bring this down here, it's on a double hinge, wrap that around, and it'll peg back into the chest. You can just kind of leave this out for now. You got to bring out these cannons here, and they are, I might need a bit of a tool. It's not a big deal as long as they're lined up. But if they're not lined up, it can be fairly challenging. And then they turn as well. And you just need to get these out of the way for now. Adjust the camera so I can see. Alright. And then you need to bring the arms out and around. You can bring out these tires too. A lot of this gets cleaned up in the end. So we'll do that. Just get as much of this out of the way as you can so that we can kind of get to the meat and potatoes, so to speak, of this. So you can open up these, and you need to get this untabbed. Now you need to get the legs out, which it's not necessarily the easiest, but if you just kind of wrap the feet around the sides of the hood, you should be able to get to it. All right. Open up this here, and that should allow you to rotate this entire assembly down. Now, before you do, you need to take this piece here. Let me see if I can't get to it. What am I doing? Let's flip these up. These got to come up. These back pieces here. I did this. There they are. Oh, okay, that's right. I forgot this piece. So move this piece here. You got to get this out of the way. I'm sorry about that. So down here, we'll show you. You need to get this little translucent window out of the way. Tuck that in. And then that should allow you to move this piece. You need to fold this down, and then this will lock back in to there, which will allow you to bring the leg up. Then you can rotate. This is another one of those flaps. I know I'm going to forget some of these flaps, but it just helps clean up the figure. So open that one up and bring it around. Bring the foot down, rotate the toes, and then flip the heel spur out. And then it has another little piece in here that you can flip out as well. And then that is the leg. And then this should actually plug in to solidify that. And that's one leg done. Hopefully I'll be able to show you a little bit smoother on this side now that I recall what it is that I'm doing in the first place. So you got to, let's see, already folded in the window, right? So this should move, yes. It's this panel here that you want to move away from this black assembly, and then you fold down this panel, and then that tab there plugs into that circle space there, and that should allow you to bring up the doubled knee, close it up tight, open up these pieces. On the back, you can fold out the flap here and then plug this back around. This actually tabs in. And I'm not sure. I guess that goes on the inside. I'll double check that. Twist the toe around. I don't know why it's giving me such issue. There we go. And fold out these flaps. So flap 1, and it looks like flap 2 already came out. Alright, and those are the legs done. Now, this bit of business. So, you want to take this and fold in this top piece here. That at least gets that out of the way. Open this up, get the head out, and put it through the open space like every other Jazz ever, I would imagine. I've only had the G1 and now this one, I think. So, and then you want to pull this up, and then this actually, oh wait, I forgot, see? So many flaps. There's 2 flaps in here that fill out the rib cage, or kind of, and then you can close this. There is, I wish that this tabbed into here some kind of way, but, because that is a little frustrating, and now I gotta straighten that flap out. And then there's another flap here, and then this peg here goes into that hole right there. And then you have the head. So that's all done. Now we just have to do the easy stuff. Open up, do our favorite hand transformation ever. Close that back up. Open up. Favorite hand transformation ever. Close that back up. And then these come down. And come around the side. That ain't right. There we go. And then these sit down flush on the shoulder. And I almost forgot. Bring these down. Oh, and I just put that inner piece in again. And then twist the waist. There we go. That looks much more appropriate. So the head has silver paint on the face. It has the famous G Creations chin strap. That's just something they do. It's not my favorite design. Let me see if I can't get you in there. But they do it to like all their figures. See the chin strap? Not my favorite, but it's a thing of theirs, so whatevs. It's blue light piping, which I think is a poor choice for a Masterpiece style figure. And then black plastic. The general head sculpt and stuff is fine. And it is on what appears to be a ball. Oh no, it's a hinge swivel. So good for them. I wish you got a little bit more downward movement, but you get a good amount up, I think. Of course, you can unpeg that, and then the swivel. The paint that we've already talked about still pulls through and looks flawless. The shoulders, so the tires are on like a hinge there in the torso, and then they come out to a double hinge here, and you just kind of have to adjust it, like you pose it and then adjust the tires as need be. Kind of a pain, but I think ultimately worth it. And then these, as you saw, these arm rockets can kind of maneuver as you see fit as well. Which once again is a stylistic choice that not a lot of people are going to be into. As you can see, he holds his gun just fine. I just slid it straight down the center, so to speak. And the peg here actually slides into the side of his hand. I don't even think I had it like that, and it's still held fine, so that's nice. The arms themselves, you have it's basically a double hinge inside the torso to a separate hinge outside in the shoulder assembly, and then that hinge works as a universal joint, so articulation is spot on there, and the shoulder's really well done. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, it seems. I wonder if it was accurate there. I think I like the other way better. There's a couple options, but I think I like this way better. It gets you at least 90 degrees. If you spin it the other way, you get past 90 degrees, but the arms become a little long. So, kind of up to you and how you work that. I'm coming unplugged here. But, yeah. Ultimately, it's alright. And it just depends on how you want it to look, I think. I can check what the official instructions say, but I think I like the arms a little shorter. I think he just looks a little bit more intimidating that way. And then wrist swivel, and then the fingers are on a base pin knuckle. We have the waist swivel, no problems there. I forgot to mention that these windshields in the transformation, they fold down, or you can keep them up. And then they are also on that same hinge, so you can get those out of the way for articulation purposes also. Hip skirts rotate up, all four. So you get the universal joint up to there, out to there, and the thigh swivel is built into the bottom. You also get a knee swivel, which is a little obnoxious, but what are you going to do? I also want to say that the silver finish on the forearms looks great, as does the silver finish on the thighs. Really nice. Knees ratcheted, single ratchet it seems, yes, and gets you 90 degrees, so no problems there, no complaints. And then we have the blue translucent, which is actually a nice little accent. You don't realize how much it adds until you see it. And then the silver paint down here on the bottom looks good as well. For the ankles, you got a tilt down, nothing really up, and then a rocker both at the toe and on the foot, and then you have those little designs underneath. So it's really nice. It's really well done. Well, we'll talk about it in final thoughts, but it's a really efficient and effective action figure, and I must give them credit for that. I haven't been able to pose him in a way yet that didn't feel good. And then size comparison wise, there he is with some other ARC bots. and I think it's a great size. No complaints there. Stylistically, we're going to talk about the complaints in that sort of sense, or whether or not the complaints are entirely justified, but size-wise, he works just fine. Final thoughts-wise, here's the negatives. There is a lot of like little flaps and little pieces. It is hard sometimes while you're manipulating it to make sure that everything is oriented, but ultimately, to me, that's not a big deal. It's just something that's worth noting. The other thing that I want to point out is the aesthetics, right? Because we got to talk about the aesthetics. And he is a masterpiece scaled figure, but he is not necessarily masterpiece stylistically. To me, I'm going to use it as an IDW Jazz. It seems like third party is going to be doing some masterpiece scaled IDW stuff, and that's where he'll ultimately end up. And for right now, he's just kind of shelf, not warming, but like a stand-in until, you know, a more G1 Jazz comes along. Look, you just tell her you're a grown man. You can make your own decisions. No. Tell her it's not that you're buying the same character twice. You're buying two different representations of the same character for two totally different shelves. That sounds like it. That doesn't sound bad.
What is it?
Never mind. All right, we're going to need to regroup. We need more. That is the, you know, IDW Jazz, and I've already checked. I can't get the tires to work anyway on the back side of the shoulders, but it's just going to have to do. Like I think it's close enough, and in that regard to kind of scratch that itch. But like even just like that panel there has come untabbed in the rib cage, so like I had to rework that in order to kind of have it sit right. But that's really my only complaints. But once you get it posed and get it sorted, you won't have a problem whatsoever. My only other issue is purely subjective, which is I wish it was a more crisp white. But you know, what are you gonna do? The good far outweighed the bad here. I mean, the paint is great. I'm sure individual results will vary there, but my paint is fantastic. The action figure element is bananas. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to mess around with, to pose, and I haven't found a pose that hasn't worked yet. It's just a very enjoyable figure. I love the transformation. I love all the little panels, even though they don't always sit as nicely as I would like them to. I love that they took the time to make all those panels have a place so that there's no void spaces. This figure is very clean, even with the modern aesthetics of, you know, the kind of line work and detail. It is a very clean representation in the way that it finishes. You know, like all the little places have a little nook and cranny to fit into in order to kind of fill out the figure, and it's a lot of fun. It's probably my favorite thing that Generation Toy has done, so I might advise Generation Toy to move away from the combiners and move into single figures, because I think they did a great job with this. Whether or not aesthetically this makes sense for your collection, that depends on you. I'm an IDW nut. I love the stuff, so I definitely wanted to get them, and a buddy of mine, T2RX6, co-signed them, and as soon as he co-signed them, I knew that I had to have them. So I picked him up at TFCon, and he's a welcomed addition to my collection, and that's all I can tell you. He's not without issue, but overall, it's a fun transformation with good materials and great paint. What are you going to do? Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.